Love Jones? More like love mess. Betrayal, backstabbing, and damn near heartbreak on every corner. This ain't your fairy tale love story. Welcome to Movie Bites, where we drag the truth out from behind the glitz and glam and expose the real drama that never made the script. Today, we're tearing into Love Jones, the film full of passion, pain, and some straight-up savage moves. We're digging deep into the lives of the cast, the ones who brought that fire, and the ones who couldn't keep it 100. Let's get into it. First up, we got Darius Lovehall, played by the smooth-talking, poetry-slinging Larenz Tate. Darius was a brother who wrote novels, but let's be real, his pen wasn't just for publishing. It was his way of navigating life, love, and lust. He'd hit up this popular jazz and spoken word spot with his boys, and when he got on stage, man, he owned it. When he first locks eyes with Nina, he doesn't waste time. He hits her with an explicit piece straight from his notebook of desire. But Nina wasn't feeling it. To her, it felt like a public call-out, not a private moment. Darius needed to be laid. Nina needed to be loved. One was moving fast, the other was looking for something real. And sometimes, when you rush love, it slips through your fingers. Larenz Tate was just 22 years old when he played Darius, but he was already on a hot streak. Before Love Jones, he had already made waves in Menace to Society, The Inkwell, and Dead Presidents. After Love Jones, he kept his foot on the gas. He starred in films like Why Do Fools Fall in Love, 1998, Ray, 2004, and Waist Deep, 2006. On TV, he's shown up in everything from New Attitude and Family Matters to more recent heat like Power. Today, Larenz is 49 years old, married to the beautiful Thomasina Parrott, and together they've got 4 kids. Through it all, he's still shining, polished, powerful, and timeless, just like Love Jones. Can you believe Nia Long was just 27 when Love Jones came out? Let's talk about her for a minute. Nia Long portrayed Nina, and she absolutely owned that role. Nina was a girl with a camera and a dream, a passionate photographer trying to find her focus, not just through the lens, but in life. When we first meet her, she's wounded. Her fiancé left her, and she swore up and down she wasn't falling for that love trap again. No more heartbreaks, no more mistakes. But then came Darius. I loved Nina's character. She was strong, stylish, and had a calm grace about her. But Sis was also trying to play that hard-to-get game after Darius had already tasted the honeypot. Like, come on now. The back and forth, the emotional dodgeball, and when she went and hooked up with Wood, that one had me clenching my fists. I almost turned on her for a minute, but then I realized it was because of her good acting, and this came in her late 20s. By then, she was already a star. We'd already seen her doing her thing in Boys in the Hood, 1991, Made in America, 1993, and Friday, 1995. But get this, she actually started way earlier. Her first TV role was back in 227 in 1986. After Love Jones, her career just kept climbing. She was in In Too Deep, 1999, Big Mama's House, 2000, The Best Man Holiday, 2013. And honestly, she hasn't stopped. She's still out here, still glowing, still delivering those smooth, effortless performances. She's 54 now, and you wouldn't even know it. Still looks amazing, still got that spark. Of course, life hasn't always been perfect. Things got rough when her longtime partner cheated on her. Like, seriously? She's got the whole package. Beauty, brains, talent, all of it. But hey, life happens, and through everything, she just keeps shining. And then we have Josie, Nina's best friend, ride or die, and all-around positive light, played by the ever-radiant Lisa Nicole Carson. When Nina's world crumbled after her heartbreak, it was Josie who reminded her to pick up the pieces. She told her not to stay down forever, that there's always something beautiful waiting just around the corner. Josie's the kind of friend who's always smiling, always seeing the good in life, even when things aren't perfect. She was right there at the nightclub with Nina when Darius performed that spicy poem, and she didn't hesitate to push her friend toward love. Josie herself? A hopeless romantic, sure, but she wasn't about to settle for just anybody. She loved hearing Nina's wild tales about love and heartbreak, like her own little romance podcast before podcasts were even a thing. Lisa Nicole Carson was 28 years old at the time, and by then, she had already made waves in Jason's Lyric and Devil in a Blue Dress. After Love Jones, her star power was undeniable. She landed a major role in the hit legal comedy drama Ally McBeal, where she brought charisma, beauty, and presence that lit up every scene she was in. Lisa was a rising star destined for greatness. But when the new millennium rolled in, so did a storm she couldn't control. Lisa faced multiple attacks related to bipolar disorder and had to be checked into a mental health facility. It was heartbreaking, because Hollywood can be cold. And once she disappeared from the spotlight, it felt like the world just moved on. Just like that, she became a forgotten, beautiful face in an industry that's always chasing the next big thing. Today, Lisa Nicole Carson is 55 years old, and she's trying to find her way back. And honestly, it's never too late. I wish her nothing but peace, healing, and the spotlight she truly deserves, because once a star, always a star. What runs through your mind when you see a face like this? Jealousy? Betrayal? All the bad things, right? Let's talk about Wood, the slick, smiling, too smooth for his own good brother played by Bill Bellamy, who was 32 years old at the time. Wood was part of that crew that used to hang out at the nightclub, dropping poems and sipping drinks like life was a jazz record. But unlike Darius, Wood wasn't there to perform or drop deep lines. He was there to scope the scene and maybe scoop someone up. He wasn't a poet, didn't care to be one either. And in his mind, he didn't need words to get women. He had that smile, that game, and honestly, just enough charm to get what he wanted. But here's the part that made everybody side-eye him. He crossed the line. When Darius and Nina hit a rough patch, Wood slid right in and hooked up with her. And it wasn't even subtle. The whole friend group was in shock. Like, bro, there's a code. You don't go after your friend's girl. But Wood? Nah, he was a selfish kind of smooth. The kind who wouldn't even take a lady home at night. He loved himself more than anyone else could. Honestly, I hated this dude for that move. Still do. Before Love Jones, Bill Bellamy had already been making a name for himself. He was in films like Joey Breaker, 1993, and Fled, 1996. Films you probably haven't heard of unless you're really digging in the crates. But his real shine came from stand-up comedy. He rocked stages on Def Comedy Jam and It's Showtime at the Apollo. And here's a fun fact. He's the man who actually coined the phrase booty call. Yup, that was him. And if you didn't know, Bill Bellamy is also the cousin of NBA legend Shaquille O'Neal. Talk about a family with talent. Today, Bill is 60 years old, still doing stand-up, still popping up in TV shows, and still keeping that same energy. As much as I couldn't stand Wood, I gotta say, Bill Bellamy is a real G, and he'll always get props for that classic term that changed the game. Next up, we got Savon, the perfect definition of a solid friend. Played by Isaiah Washington, Savon was part of that tight-knit crew of brothers who lived for jazz, poetry, and real talk. He was married, had a kid, and unlike the others, he actually brought the grown man energy into the group. He'd invite the fellas over to his crib, let the vibes flow, and for a moment you could just feel that brotherhood bond they all shared. But don't let that smooth surface fool you. Savon's marriage was far from perfect. He was going through it. At one point, his wife even left him, and man, that hit hard. Despite the storm in his own life, he still found the time to give Darius advice on love. One line that stuck with me: falling in love is easy, staying in love, that's the hustle. That line hit deep. I felt for him when his wife walked out, but I was so glad to see them work it out. Savon was that grounded, honest friend every circle needs. Isaiah Washington was 34 years old at the time, and by then, he had already put in work in the game. You probably remember him from Crooklyn, Clockers, and Dead Presidents, where he shared the screen with Larenz Tate once again. He had that intensity that made every role feel personal. After Love Jones, Isaiah's career went on a rise. He was that hot talent everyone was watching, and when he landed the role of Dr. Preston Burke on Grey's Anatomy, he took things to another level. He brought class, complexity, and culture to that character. But sadly, being a strong black man in Hollywood came with its battles. After a backstage incident and some controversial remarks, he was fired from the show. And while the media ran wild with it, Isaiah has always said he was targeted because of his skin color. It's a tough pill to swallow. He's since expressed regret for how things went down, but you can't help but feel sorry for how it all unfolded. Now 61 years old, rumor has it he's officially retired, and honestly, I don't want that to be true. Every tight group of fellas needs some female energy to balance things out, and in Love Jones, that role was held down by Sheila, played by the effortlessly cool Bernardet Louise Clark. She was the only woman in the main friend circle, but she never felt like the odd one out. In fact, she blended right in and kept the boys in check while adding that much-needed spice to the mix. Sheila loved kicking it with the crew at the Sanctuary, the poetry lounge where all the magic went down. But she wasn't just there for the vibes. She worked at a record store, and if you needed the hottest new track or a classic deep cut, Sheila was your go-to plug. She knew music like the back of her hand. Now let's talk about Wood, because of course, he tried to shoot his shot with Sheila, but she shut him down every time. Gracefully, Sheila wasn't the one to fall for slick lines or empty charm. She brought a mature, grounded energy to the group, and her presence made the whole circle feel more complete. Bernardet Louise Clark was 30 years old at the time of filming. Before Love Jones, she had the incredible opportunity to appear alongside Oscar-winning legend Sidney Poitier in the 1996 sequel to Sir with Love Part 2. That's a moment not many can claim. But after Love Jones, Bernardet stepped away from the screen. She got married to Jamal Yusuf Speaks, and together they switched lanes and began working behind the scenes as directors and producers. Today, she's 58 years old and the proud chief operating officer of Dreams Take a Minute Productions, a company that's all about storytelling with purpose. She may have had a brief on-screen moment, but she's been building something powerful ever since, proving that some stars just shine behind the camera too. Does this guy look familiar to you? If he does, then you probably remember him from Juice back in '92. That's right, we're talking about Marvin, brought to life by none other than Khalil Kane. Now let me tell you something. When Marvin steps into a room, you don't just see trouble, you smell deceit coming from a mile away. And unfortunately, Nina was standing right in the middle of that storm. From the jump, we know Marvin is a heartbreaker. This is the man who proposed to Nina, promised her forever, and then dipped, just like that. Left her with nothing but tears and trust issues. His smooth look might fool some folks, but Marvin was all about Marvin. Selfish, manipulative, and let's be real, low-key a mama's boy with a controlling streak. Remember when he told Nina he didn't want her working? That wasn't about love or support. That was some real narcissistic, I want to control your life energy. To be honest, Love Jones wasn't the film I ever expected to see Khalil Kane play the bad guy in. For so many of us, he will always be Raheem from Juice, that solid, good-hearted brother who tried to keep peace before things went left. So watching him flip into the role of Marvin, it just didn't sit right, but I've got to give him props for showing that range. After Love Jones, Khalil popped up here and there on TV, playing guest roles in shows like Living Single and Girlfriends. He might have slipped out of the Hollywood spotlight, but his name still holds weight in the culture. Today, Khalil Kane is 60 years old. He's not as active in the entertainment world anymore, but he's still respected and remembered, especially by those of us who grew up watching Black cinema at its finest. Up next, we've got Eddie, played by Leonard Roberts, one of the brothers from the poetry crew, and honestly, he was one of the good ones. While Wood was out here moving grimy, Eddie stood out as a solid friend to Darius. No shady business, no underhanded moves, just a real dude holding it down for the crew. Eddie had that smooth confidence. You know the type. Charming, opinionated, and always ready to drop a slick one-liner or a random piece of wisdom when you least expect it. Whether he was flirting with the ladies or just vibing at the poetry cafe, Eddie added flavor to the mix. He was also one of the curtain raisers at the nightclub, helping to set the tone for the night before Darius or the others hit the mic. Now here's the wild part. This was Leonard Roberts' film debut, and he was just 25 at the time. You wouldn't believe it based on how comfortable he was in that role, but yep, he stepped into Love Jones like he'd been doing this for years. That same year, he popped up in Hoodlum, and from there, his career just kept rolling. He went on to appear in films like He Got Game and Drumline in 2002. On TV, he's been everywhere, from Buffy the Vampire Slayer to Heroes, and he's also had guest roles on more shows than you can count. Today, Leonard Roberts is 52 and still out here doing his thing in the industry, proving that consistency and talent always keep the door open. When Nina started playing those back-and-forth games, the emotional cat and mouse that had Darius spinning, he did what a lot of brothers in his position might do. He rebounded fast. And that rebound came in the form of Lisa, played by Jacqueline Fleming. Lisa wasn't here for the drama. She was the kind of woman who knew the assignment, be the breath of fresh air Darius needed, without the complications. She was light, fun, no expectations. But beneath that easygoing exterior, you could tell Lisa knew the game. She might have been the rebound, but she wasn't naive. She saw Darius for who he was, heartbroken and confused, but she still rolled with it. Sometimes you need someone who's just gonna hold you down in the moment, even if the moment doesn't last. At the time of filming, Jacqueline Fleming was just 20, still new to Hollywood. She had kicked things off with her debut in Losing Isaiah in 1995, and Love Jones put her on the radar as someone who could step into a scene and hold her own, even in a small role. She brought Lisa to life with just the right amount of confidence, subtlety, and presence. After Love Jones, Jacqueline continued carving out her path, TV appearances here and there, supporting roles, and plenty of hustle in between. It's tough out there for actresses, especially Black women trying to find their lane in a crowded, often unkind industry. But Jacqueline never stopped. Now at 47 years old, she's still pushing forward, chasing the craft, and staying visible in a world that's constantly shifting. And honestly, that says a lot. Up next is Troy, played by Duncan, the calm in the storm and the kind of woman who brought warmth into every room she stepped in. Troy was the wife to Savon, and together, they were that couple who loved to host. Their home was like a sanctuary for the crew, filled with laughter, music, poetry, and good vibes. Troy had that accommodative, nurturing energy, the type of woman who made everyone feel at ease. But behind the laughter and hospitality, there were cracks in her relationship with Savon. Things weren't all roses. As much as they loved each other, they hit a rough patch. And at one point, Troy actually leaves Savon, a reminder that even the most grounded, seemingly perfect couples go through it. Love can get messy, and Troy walking away showed she wasn't going to stay in something that didn't feel right. Thankfully, they eventually patched things up, showing us that healing and growth are possible when both people are willing to put in the work. Duncan, who was in her late 20s at the time, played Troy with grace and quiet strength. Outside of Love Jones, she's also recognized for her role in Barbershop, 2002, and she made a guest appearance in ER back in 1998. She's also popped up in episodes of Chicago Fire and Chicago Med, showing her range and staying power in the TV game. Her most recent appearance was in 2022 in the sci-fi series Night Sky, which proves she's still got it. While she's kept a relatively low profile, Duncan is probably in her late 50s now, and she continues to be remembered for her subtle yet impactful performances. She brought Troy to life in a way that made us root for her and reminded us that love isn't always a straight line. And lastly, we have Tracy, played by Marie-Francoise Theodore. Now, most folks might not immediately remember her, but she definitely deserves a shout out. Tracy was the woman who worked alongside Savon at the school where he was teaching. They were co-workers, and when they showed up together at the party, I'll admit, I thought they were dating. But nope, it was just two colleagues rolling through, maybe to catch some vibes and good poetry. Tracy had this bright smile and positive energy that added a touch of light to the scene. Her screen time was limited, and we didn't really get to dive deep into her character. But still, she held her own. Tracy might not have had a big storyline, but she's one of those honorable mentions who helped shape the Love Jones vibe just by being present. As for Marie-Francoise Theodore, she's kept her career moving with a mix of indie films like Mob Rules, Small Metal Jacket, and Lockdown 2025. She's also popped up on TV in shows like Station 19, The Young and the Restless, and Chicago PD. She's not always front and center, but she's still pushing on, carving out her space in the industry. By my estimates, she's probably in her 50s now and still doing her thing in an ever-evolving world. Tracy might have come and gone quickly in Love Jones, but for those who paid attention, she brought a quiet charm that fit perfectly into the world that was created by the film. And there you have it. Love Jones wasn't just a vibe, it was a storm. A messy, beautiful, heart-wrenching storm that left us questioning love, loyalty, and who really has your back when the lights go down. If you felt this breakdown, don't just scroll. Hit that like, drop a comment, and let me know which Love Jones character had you screaming at the screen. And of course, subscribe to Movie Bites, where the stories never fade and the truth always bites back. Till next time, keep it real and keep it raw.